The other big story we're following today is Syria and whether the United States is about to make its biggest military decision since invading Iraq. Senator John McCain today called for U.S. airstrikes against Syria to help the opposition and oust President Bashar al-Assad. It was at times a tense exchange with Defense Secretary Leon Panetta.
How many additional civilian lives would have to be lost in order to convince you that the military measures of this kind that we are proposing necessary to end the killing and force to leave power? How many more have to die? 10,000 more? 20,000 more? How many more?
What doesn't make sense is to take unilateral action at this point. As Secretary of Defense, before I recommend that we put our sons and daughters in uniform in harm's way, I've got to make very sure that we know what the mission is.
The United Nations estimates that the year-long conflict in Syria has resulted in 7,500 deaths, most of them civilian. At least 40 were killed today, including 7 children, according to the opposition. The question is whether the U.S. is ready to get involved in another Middle East conflict. Military intervention in Syria does not come at a small cost to the United States. Retired Air Force Colonel Cedric Leighton tells Outfront when you look at the monetary costs, an air campaign in Syria could last at least 2 weeks. Price tag would be $2 billion, which compared to Libya, which was only $900 million, is, as you can tell, more than double. But Syria's military is not like Libya's, which means this would be just a small down payment to a possibly much more significant commitment. Syria can fight back. Just take a look at these numbers. Ground force, 320,000 troops, 5,000 tanks, at least 555 Russian MiGs, 4,000 plus surface-to-air missiles. Now, McCain says that's even more reason for the U.S. to get involved to help civilians.
So, would you characterize this as a fair fight when he's using artillery and tanks to kill Syrians?
I would characterize the Assad regime as brutalizing their own citizens.
Former Assistant Defense Secretary Paul Wolfowitz agrees with getting involved, writing this week in an editorial in the Wall Street Journal that, quote, strengthening the Syrian opposition is not an obstacle to a peaceful end to this conflict. To the contrary, it may be the only way to achieve one. But Leon Panetta was direct today. He says the U.S. should not intervene now. Why? Well, to start, we don't even know who we're arming.
We faced somewhat the same situation in Libya. Here you've got triple the problem because there are so many diverse groups that are involved.
Egypt's foreign minister warned that involvement in the form of arming rebel fighters would, quote, lead to an escalation in the military conflict and spark a civil war in Syria.